This was Trump late last week introducing the head of Pfizer. We know him. We hate him. His name is Alfred Bourla. We've been following this guy for the entire reign of COVID. And you would think that somebody like Trump would second guess himself before doing this in a room of people.
The head of Pfizer here, so I want to thank him. One of the great people, one of the great businessmen. Thank you, Albert. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that happened. The boos happened. He tried to double down after the boost started, and he kept saying, great man, great man. And you're looking on his face. Jay, what is your assessment here? Is that a complete botch job by Trump, or is there something more 4D chess going on here with demonstrating the crowd's reaction? I don't know. What's your initial take on this one?
So my initial take is when I follow the money, it's not like Pfizer or any of those guys campaigned against Trump. When I follow what his supporters have been saying and doing throughout the whole time, like anytime he would bring up the Pfizer vaccinations during his campaign, he would actually get booed. Like it wasn't even like this just recently started. Like right. MAGA has not liked Pfizer for a very long time, but Trump still keeps trying to push them. So when I talk to some, MAGA people who I love, I got a lot of friends who are MAGA supporters and Trump supporters. When I talk to them, they're still sticking with this story about putting Alfred Bourla in the spotlight because they want people to see who he is and see what Pfizer is doing. But we already know who he is. We already know what he did. So what is the reason to continue putting this man in the spotlight and telling him, oh, look at this great guy, we're going to continue working with him and making money on him? Just take a look at the big picture. The big picture is Trump is launching a sovereign wealth fund. And in this fund, his first idea was that floated by his commerce secretary was they want to invest in the next set of vaccines that they roll out. So quote unquote, the American taxpayer can be a shareholder and, enjoy the money too. So all signs point towards him continuing to double down on mRNA technology. So, to me, it's scary. I don't think there's any 4D chess going on right now. I think, I just don't see how this is going to work with RFK, in there too, because if he follows through on what he's been saying, he wants to do, which is transparency with the data and, let everyone make their own decisions, and removing, liability protection from, these vaccine manufacturers. Number one, I don't see how they're going to continue to exist. And I don't see how they're going to be profitable because they're going to get sued out of existence. If RFK follows through on this. So I don't know how this plays out. So to be honest with you, I wish I could tell you I know what's going on, but I don't. What I do know is that it seems to me like Trump is following where the money takes him. So I don't want to be negative Nancy, but if I had to guess, I would say sooner or later, they're probably going to nudge RFK Jr. out of there unless he caves, which I personally can't see him caving. So I think he's probably going to get nudged out at some point, and they try to fire him for one reason or another, because look at his last administration. It had a super high turnover rate. So I don't know how that's going to happen because RFK Jr. is literally the most popular politician in the country right now in terms of favorability. I just saw a poll, I think it was yesterday, that RFK is +9. Trump is +7. All the Democrats are in the red. But how can you remove him from this position of power without a good excuse? So I don't know what's happening, but yeah, I think we're on a crash course right now.
I didn't see that poll, Jay, but that actually, because I was on the fence about what you're saying about are they gonna nudge him out? Is he gonna stay? I think with the poll in mind and taking that seriously, I think you go with the keeping him in. And there's a theory I heard, and it was from one of these not whistleblowers, but one of James O'Keefe loves getting those big pharma people, so he'll set them up. And one of these guys, they got him in like a McDonald's, and like waiting in a line, and in the line, the reporter.
I know the video you're talking about. They said they're just going to make his life difficult, right?
So and that's the thing. That's the thing. And I don't really care whose idea that was. I heard the idea. I was like, you know what? And that was a very authentic moment, because he didn't know he was on camera. All that stuff, secret conversation in the line in fast food. But which is funny, they're in a fast food line. That's hilarious. But but the idea makes sense to me. Like I was like, oh, I wish I had thought of that. This is how it goes. Like you say, hey, Mr. Kennedy, we're putting a commission together. We're going to study vaccine safety, and we're going to check in on you every once in a while and let you know our progress. And we got another committee over here, and they're working on what are the dangers of I think the guy used the example fluoride in our toothpaste. We'll have a team on that, and we got this team over here. So we got a lot of stuff. We'll keep you updated. And then months go by. Okay, how's everything going? Oh, it's looking good. Well, do you have anything for me? No, not quite yet. So that's the kind of thing you put Kennedy in a place where he can keep checking in, but he's not going to get anything. Yeah. And then what does he do? Does he quit? I think no, absolutely no way does he ever quit. He just stays there frustrated, finding new tactics of how he can inch something forward. And if he gets one of these things to come back, just one little group to have some sort of results, then he can at least feel like I did something. That I think is what we're going to be seeing for the next 4 years. Now, this came up. I don't know if this is anything. Daily Mail is, I guess, championing RFK Jr., but they're saying that he's done this. And this is not anything concrete, so it doesn't really mean much, but it's a good start, I think, of at least optics. It says RFK Jr. issues 2 bombshell orders on vaccines, a move that has mainstream doctors terrified. I love that language. Doctors are terrified.
Informed consent. They're terrified of their patients being informed, which was crazy to me. Yeah,
it's insane. And that Daily Mail is like the one giving us this, and it's great that they're posting it. But like that's the story. They're terrified, really. Yeah. So just a brief on this. It says RFK has pulled promotional ads for vaccines. Very nice. And postponed, and that's the operative word here, Jay. It's postponed a meeting of key vaccine advisors in one of his first moves as health secretary. He ordered the CDC to scrub its digital wild to mild flu vaccine campaign. Great. I would hate to see another one of those. And so they're supposed to be like tames the virus campaign bullshit. We see this all the time. Hate this stuff. This is stuff that runs on NFL commercials between the and timeouts. The campaign was a response to the falling flu vaccine rates and especially vicious flu season. Well, good for people for stopping to do this horrible vaccine. I guess it was more. It's been kind of a ritual for people, and they don't, ritualistically, they don't. All these years, they don't know why they were doing it. Now they're like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? And they stop. Great, very good.
I can tell you why. It's because it's the combination of incentives going to the doctors, because a lot of these insurance companies actually pay out bonuses to the doctor's offices for having a certain percentage of their patients vaccinated, right? This isn't something that only started with the COVID vaccine, and this is something I just realized recently. The doctors are financially incentivized to do this. They don't do double-blind control studies for vaccinations in general. What they do is they test to see if the vaccines, stop transmission of whatever the disease is in question or lessen the effects of it, depending on, which goal they're going for. But they don't actually do double-blind randomized control trials where they follow people for years on end to see if there's any cumulative effects, like after taking these things, the same way that they do with regular medications. So, I've actually been looking into this more because I'm in a position where, I'm expecting a child, in the next few months, and I'm going to have to decide how many vaccines, do I give her? So I've been looking into this. And the truth is, when you look at the data, the cumulative effect of all the vaccination schedule. Oh, wait, are we on YouTube right now?
We are on YouTube. Now, remember, this is now what we'll
All right.
do, and this is work, we do the Jimmy Dore style, where what we do is at the end of the live, we will terminate ourselves off the live
Okay.
on YouTube. It goes away immediately, and then we'll upload only the stuff that isn't this. And that's like, so
So
we'll do that. So that's working so far. But to be clear, for everybody watching at home, we're not saying these things. We're reporting that other
yeah,
outlets and other people are saying it. That's
yeah.
all. We're just communicating to you guys. We're not, it's not our opinions.
Yeah, so vaccines are safe and effective, but there's a dissenting an opinion amongst other doctors who've taken looks at the data that shows that kids in general who take vaccines, according to these doctors, not according to me, but according to these doctors,
Right.
it looks like these kids tend to get more sick than other kids. So if you focus all the media on the fact that it protects you against a specific disease, but you're not looking at the cumulative effects of all the vaccines put together that are given to children in a short span of time, then you're not really looking at the overall picture of health. You're just kind of targeting one small point. You're seeing, does the vaccine help with this? Well, if it destroys all this other stuff, who cares? We know that it's helping with this one thing. So they run with that for the marketing, but they're not telling you in these same, advertisements, okay, well, it may make your flu more mild this season, but it could also be destroying your immune system overall as you take these shots year after year after year. So, the date, and of course, I'm not saying this, but this is what other people have said. So I'm just reporting what other people have said. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is that we'll get more transparency into the actual data, because I just bought RFK's book, actually, Vax Unvaxxed, and I'm going through it right now.
Great.
And there's already a ton of data. It's just that it's not put out there for the public to inspect, and the CDC doesn't talk about it. So if they're moving from marketing you to take these drugs, and instead they're moving to inform you about potential benefits and potential drawbacks of each drug, I think that's a win-win. But in my opinion, that will likely result in less people taking it. So I don't know if they're going to allow him to do that or how they can allow him to do that. But all he has to do is make the studies that are already done more available and put it more in the spotlight and make people answer for these studies more. And I think we will see a change. So I'm interested to see, how this transparency is going to work out.
Yeah. Here's the one thing, Jay, is that we've had, even before RFK, even before Trump, we've had several opportunities where we show people, and I say we, I mean the whole entire medical freedom movement, the doctors, these credited people that have the data, right? You have your Peter McCulloughs and your Pierre Corey's, David Martin. These are people that have the data. John Campbell. If you were watching John Campbell throughout COVID and you got angry,
the evolution is crazy.
So this is the stuff that you and I and our audience, we know, we have our critical thinking caps on, our tribal goggles off, and we're like, this stuff is like real stuff that we want to like apply to the decisions we make in our lives, or maybe even if we regret certain decisions up till now, we're going to make those changes based on this data that is being given to us. And yet there's still so many people that don't want to look at it. When Pfizer was forced to release the data that they were trying to hide for 75 years, and they threw it out there, you would think that was a big aha moment, a big reveal. This is the moment of truth. The whole world looked at this and they read through it and they saw, oh my God, look at all those side effects. No, they're not interested. Mainly, I think, because of ego. I think because they have something they invested in. It's like not leaving you're invested in a stock, a particular stock, and it's falling. You're like, no, it's going to pick up.
Speaking of that, Bitcoin is on the way down right now. I sold mine.
Of course it is.
But anyway, that's off topic. Yeah. But
like, I just got in when it was up here. Oh, it's going to go up. All right, never mind that. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. But that's
It'll bounce back. It'll bounce
it'll
back.
bounce back. Yeah. Yeah. We haven't seen the long-term data yet. So we're hoping that all the people with the injuries is temporary. It's just like the stock market. It'll bounce back up. So I'm gonna ignore that hidden data from Pfizer. And I'm gonna hope that all the people that got hurt, they're gonna miraculously get better.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
We don't even need to hope that they miraculously get better. If we have the person who's the head of Health and Human Services saying, hey, there could be some issues with some of the people who took these shots, we're now going to, invest some energy into looking into remedies for these people to see if there's any way we can help them get better, more quickly. And you are seeing some people have breakthroughs, like in treatment for it. Like I know I follow Dr. Peter McCullough fairly closely. He's been working on this for a while. I think his organization just had a breakthrough within the last few weeks in terms of treating people who are suffering from, long vaccine injuries. So, if we have the head of HHS specifically say, hey, there may be some issues with something we did, let's invest some energy into fixing that. I think that does change the conversation in a way that it hasn't been changed before, because just because we had the data released about those potential side effects that Pfizer was trying to hide for 75 years, there was still no directive from the top saying, hey, let's try to correct this mistake. So if Kennedy takes that step and he says, hey, everybody, let's try to correct this mistake. And if he says, hey, everybody, we're going to move from the model of telling patients to do this, and instead we're going to move to the model of informing patients about pros and cons of, pursuing different things, then we could see some big changes overall. So they can try to stonewall, they can try to make his life difficult, but if he gets on TV and says, hey, we made a mistake, now we have to try to help these people who are suffering some of the consequences from this mistake, I think that does change the conversation in a way that it hasn't been before. And I do see it negatively impacting big pharma. So now we're going to see, how much of this 4D chess is Trump willing to play? Because, one thing that does give me hope, even though I lean towards the negative side when it comes to Trump, one thing that does give me hope is I watched the way he handled the Russia-Ukraine situation.
Yes.
And what he did was he essentially played everybody in Europe and made them think that he was going to stick, to their side, and he was going to make Russia bend to the will of the West. But then when it came time for the rubber to hit the road, he sent a completely different person to go meet with the Russians than he was sending to the Europeans. So we still have to wait to see what he ultimately does, but he did essentially play like all the people in the EU, it seems, if he follows through and he does like make peace with Russia, which will be hard to walk back on, now, because he's already gotten his base so pumped up over this that if he pulls back now, it will feel like a betrayal. So I have seen him do a little bit of that 4D chess when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine situation. But when I look at the money trails behind Big Pharma, and the ties to the Trump campaign, I find it harder to believe that he's going to do the same thing with Big Pharma. So I'll give him his credit where it's due. I want to keep hope, but we'll see.
Jay, I think you hit it on the head with the money issue. So as long as there's no money in health, it's going to be hard for him to go against the financial incentive that these Larry Ellison characters bring to him. And that's the problem.
Because the solutions are not profitable. Vitamin D is not profitable. Vitamin C isn't profitable. Telling people, hey, if you want to avoid just devastating impacts from COVID, get in shape, lose weight, get in good overall health. That's not really that profitable.
The one profitable element, which he might, if you look on his face on that clip, I would say this, and you know what? Let's play it one more again for those who are joining us late. This is watch his face, because I think there's debate here on what's actually happening here. It was probably a blunder. But when he sees that crowd reaction, that is something of value. The people's reaction is the value. So if it's not financially on the books, it's around him. It's the people supporting him. It's his ego, right?
That's true.
So if we could have more people be loud like these people when he introduces the head of Pfizer,
The
that
pressure
might
is
help
on.
move him forward, right?
Yeah,
So let's hear
yeah.
it one more time. Watch Trump's face this time. Watch how he responds. I'm gonna say it was a blunder, but watch it. Does he learn anything from this blunder? Check it out.
Head of Pfizer here, so I want to thank him. One of the great people, one of the great businessmen. Thank you, Albert. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
There, right there. When he looked up, you see that? He was looking down. And he looked at Albert, he looks down, he stays down. They're coming at him. And that good for them coming at saying, no, boo. And he looks up. I think there might have been a moment there. So we need more of these. We need more of these moments. And maybe that will give him the value that he could put and weigh it against the Larry Ellison money and just kind of, look at that and go, what is more worth it here? Remember, everyone, he dropped the Zelenko protocol, the hydroxychloroquine. He dropped it because he had people whispering in his ear that he would have more popularity with Operation Warp Speed, and it would secure the 2020 election win for him,
I don't
which,
think
as
that's
we
why
all
he
know,
did it.
did not actually happen. So
I don't think that's why he did it, man. You got to follow the money there, man. He called up Larry Fink. Larry Fink was the campaign donor. He said, "Hey, Uncle Larry, what should I do?" He said, "Operation Warp Speed in the CARES Act, because that's what transferred the money over to BlackRock, and that's what we got." So it probably played a role, but I think it's more the money in that.
It probably was more the money, but I'm saying from actual secondhand telling to us here on the Homeless Left, Zelenko's brother, Frank Zelenko, came on the show and told us exactly what his brother told him. How did that last meeting end in that room, that private meeting you had, the follow-up meeting after Trump had told him, we're going to get hydroxychloroquine out to every effing person in this country as soon as he knew it was working. And he calls him back in and he says, I have to, unfortunately, I have to tell you, I've been talking to my, my team. And as much as this works, and we know it works and it's good, and I'll try and plug it for you, Dr. Zelenko, but I unfortunately, my team is telling me that we can get this vax out now, and it's going to be so effective. It's warp speed time. We're going to it, and if we can do this, it will ensure my reelection.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
what you told him.
Well, here's the thing. He actually has told the truth, though, about Ukraine. Like, he is coming out and telling you what's really happening in Ukraine, or getting pretty close to it. Not 100% of the truth, but he's given us probably about 70-80% of the truth and what's happening in Ukraine, right? With the vaccine situation, he hasn't given us anything. So that's why I personally don't think it's the 4D chess happening here. And I want him to feel that pressure, because maybe it'll change his mind. But personally, I think the money is a lot heavier on this side. And the truth is, if you look at our budget, we simply can't afford to continue going on with what we've been doing in Ukraine, especially if we want to help Israel accomplish the Greater Israel Project, which I know is the next story. So I think they're at a point where they have to pivot, whether or not they want to. And it could actually be part of the plan for, Trump to start winding down this war. They blame it, whatever happens, on Trump. And now, because Democrats aren't changing their talking points, like they're still saying that, Trump is evil, he's caving to Putin, not that he's trying to make peace and we need to be done with this. They're still sticking to the same talking point. So
Jay, not only they're doubling down, they're all over their what is that blue sky crap? They're all over the place, and they're freaking the hell out. Why? Because CNN has been rotating pundits over and over all day long. Yesterday, if you were to turn on all day long, pundit after pundit coming on, experts telling us how horrified they are that Trump is not calling Putin a dictator. That's the CNN news feed all day.
Meanwhile, Russia has regular elections. Ukraine just called off their elections, yet for some reason, Zelensky isn't a dictator, but Putin is a dictator. I mean, I don't know, man. It seems like we're doing a little picking and choosing here, but it's just amazing to me that they haven't learned anything from all the other wars we've been part of. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to get on to Israel in a second, but I want to say this, Jay. Kudos to you for doing your own research with the baby coming. That is awesome. I hope people watching can do the same. And I saw one of our regular watchers in the chats. I'm going to put this up. This is from Nurses United. My baby has 0 vaccines and lived through influenza. Imagine that. Thank you, Nurses United. And congrats on your baby as well. But yours is coming, Jay. I have to say, this is the time. Parents need to do this stuff. They need to do that work that you're doing. So really, pat on the back to you on that. And I hope other people can do that research themselves. And know this is a warning, a forewarning, because we know parents. I know parents. Leslie knows parents personally that have gone in to do the thing and tell the nurse, tell the doctor, tell the pediatrician, no, we're good. And they will double. These are drug lords. These are drug pushers, man. They will pin you to the wall and say, no, we have to do this. So you have to hold your ground. You have to be strong, and they're going to come at you. They're going to look at you like this is, and that's the game that you're ready to play, Jay. And I know you're ready for it, but I'm telling people watching, that's part of it that you have to sign up for as well.
And in all fairness, I truly do think that they believe that these things are needed for good health. I don't think the nurses and doctors are telling people to do that, because they know that they're getting paid for it. In fact, most of the people who work for a doctor's office aren't even aware of how the billing side works and how a lot of those bonuses are going to work.
The doctors are, Jay. I'm not. I agree with you on the nurses, and I agree with you.
A lot of the doctors are.
I'm not saying the doctors don't. Some of them do believe it, but there's certainly a good amount of those doctors who know exactly what they're doing. They are used car salesmen, and they say, "Have I got a deal for you?" And they have to make their quota, and they're counting on their next vacation, and they're counting on their yacht, and they are die hard to get that quota that they set. They woke up that morning and go, "I'm getting my bonus." That's what happened.
There probably is some of those too. The only thing I can say is with some of the diseases that people are getting vaccinated against, like polio, that is a vaccine that I truly am considering, because that is a dangerous disease. It does have a more lethal death rate. It does have more consequences. When I look at something like the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella are all fairly benign diseases for people who are in a well-nourished population. Like, it used to be something people caught regularly, like if you go back a couple decades, and they got over it without any issues. So I'd encourage everyone, as you're doing this, look at the death rate, of the disease in question. Look at the difference between nourished and malnourished populations, and you can find data for all this stuff, and you may come to see that a lot of these diseases are really dangerous in countries where people are starving and don't have access to food every day. That's where they're actually the most dangerous. So, but of course, vaccines are safe and effective. And I'm just reporting on things other people have said, but vaccines are safe and effective. Get vaccinated for everything all the time, everybody.
I agree with you, Jay. And I'm going to be, as soon as we're done with the show later, I'm going to go out and get my 10th booster. I can't wait. It's I think, to quote Jimmy Dore, my heart swells with pride when I think about my next shot. I cannot wait.